And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Kent Holste Podcast right here on KentHolstePodcast.com and as well as the YouTube channel. I'm so glad you decided to click that link and join in the conversation as we are going to be talking about regret. Something we haven't talked about in quite some time since the previous podcasts that are no longer out there. But I figured I'd redo it and touch base on this subject again because I feel like it is a good subject and a good topic to discuss. And so hopefully if you have something to share about regret and how it affects your life or how it did affect your life, to put it in the comment spot on this podcast on the YouTube channel, and we can go from there. So this should be a good topic. Hopefully you'll stay tuned and join in this conversation. Are you looking for a positive place to join a great community? Well, go to the Kent Holste Podcast website where you can find Circle of Friends. This is a page to be supportive by sharing special events that are positive or even letting others pray for you. A place that people can come together without fear of being judged, no matter race or disabilities. A time to be a part of that person that takes the time to care for others when it's needed most. We are all not just friends, we are family. It's Circle of Friends on the Kent Holste Podcast website. Check it out today. So as we get started on this podcast, I want you to think about things that have happened in your life that have impacted you in a significant way, and how those things really have changed you and have made you a completely different person. You know, there's so many things in my life that I look back on and I regret. And one of those biggest things is the way that I treated not only my parents growing up, but also my friends and other family members. You know, the way that I acted back in the day when I was younger is something that I'm not proud about. You know, I look back on the things that I said, the things that I did, the things that I reacted to, and I look at how things have been, you know, with me being a parent and seeing how my kids have grown and react to things. And it completely brings a whole different outlook. You know, my dad and my mom always said, and I've said this before on another podcast, that respect is not just given, it's earned. And my biggest thing that I regret is not taking that and taking it seriously, because I always demanded respect. And I think that was my biggest flaw. My biggest mistake was expecting people to just like me. And I wanted people to just look at me different and see the person that I was then. But I was going about it the wrong way. And especially from the people that were bullying me and making fun of me, I was pushing more of the fact of trying to regain or get them to be my friend than giving them the space and the time that they needed to kind of figure things out, if that makes sense. So my biggest regret was just not being able to accept things, accept consequences from my actions, the way that I did things. The biggest thing I regret is also not taking school seriously. You know, I took it as a joke. I took it as a time to not be serious, to not really put in my full attention and effort into it. And back then, my grades and everything showed it. You know, I went home and I didn't want to do my homework. I hated homework. And now looking back, because both of my kids, my older two, are having trouble sometimes studying and doing things. And so now I'm looking back and going, okay, here's another life lesson brought to you by your father. And now I get to share to them what my regrets are and what can happen when you don't take things seriously, when you don't put in the effort. It's hard when you're a kid and you don't know what life is about. You think that you do, but you don't know what the reality is. You don't know what the future is going to bring, where you're going to have to utilize a lot of the things that you think at the time are just ridiculous, that are a waste of time. But the reality was the waste of time that was really going on was me not doing things right, not taking things seriously. So that's one of my biggest regrets. But the biggest thing I think that we should take from this topic today is, no matter how big or small your regret is, you can't let those things bring you down. And the issue with me is I always tend to take things to the extreme, or I used to at least. And sometimes I still do, I guess. You know, I hear things one way, but that's not how it was intended to be. So I do things wrong, and I end up beating myself up for it. And I think we all do that within the things that we regret. Is we focus on our faults. We focus on the things that we should have done, and we just stop. We let that fail get the best of us. And we don't continue to push to change the mistakes that we did. Our regret shouldn't be the end. Our regret should just be the beginning. Because the more we think of our regrets and not change them, nothing good is going to come from life. You know, I could say many, many more examples of what I regret in my life. And out of anger, it's funny how there's things that we talk about or think about that are our regrets, that we say are our regrets. And when we come back, we're going to talk about that. Are you looking for a positive change in your life? Well, I encourage you to go to the Kent Holste Podcast website, where there's a link called Positive Lifestyles by Holste. There, you can find products from Q Sciences and Herbalife. Products such as skincare, weight loss, and also products to help you get a good night's rest, pain relief, and so much more. Check it out today. It's on the Kent Holste Podcast website at www.kentholstepodcast.com/positive lifestyles by Holste. So, after all the things that I've struggled with in my life, especially relationships, out of those times where it was frustrating and painful, there could have been, or there may have been times where I said, I regret being in this relationship. I regret being with that person because of what they've done to my heart, or I regret being with that person because I put in all the effort and emotions and didn't get anything in return that was remotely the same as what I've done. And a lot of that thinking that we do is selfish on our part, because it's not about what we get. It's about the things that you can give. And the biggest regret that I could say is not being in those relationships, even though they may have caused significant amount of pain and hurt and loss. But if we regret those things, or I say completely that I never wish I would have been or chose to be with those people, I would have missed out on even bigger and better things that came from those relationships, like my kids. How could I regret being in a relationship when they produced some of the most amazing lives? And I don't get how people can say that when they have kids. Maybe it would be a different story if you didn't have kids. I don't know. But is it really appropriate to say those things? Because in reality, even if you don't have kids with those people, you wouldn't be the person that you are today because of them. Now, this may be another factor that isn't a good thing, because what may have happened or what had caused a lot of the stuff that ended that relationship may have not been a good thing. And it was something that you do regret or want to regret. And that's unfortunate, because no one should have to waste their time and their energy thinking negatively about other people, because it doesn't solve anything. All that's doing is creating more trouble for yourself, creating more pain and agony for what you're already trying to get through. So what's the point? You can't let your regret be an even bigger downfall than what you're already experiencing in your life. It's just extra drama. So why create it? And that's the thing. And there's been moments where people ask about my past relationship. Shouldn't you be angry? Shouldn't you be upset? No. I was part of the problem because I made that choice to do things that caused the relationship to fail. I made choices that made that person probably fall apart from me. And maybe that's where the same thing as for the other relationships. Because you pointing fingers and blaming others for what has happened isn't going to solve anything. The only thing you can do is own up to what you did and act as if you were the problem. Because it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. The only right that should be going is you admitting that you were wrong. And then you can move forward. And the more that you do that, there's less chances of you regretting anything, because you did what you had to do. to make a bad situation good. I had to take time in the midst of the regrets of my actions or the things that I was going through in order to get where I am today. The more regret that you hold on to, the more damage you're just going to do to yourself. You're not going to succeed. You're just adding more fuel to the fire. Now, there's other regrets that could possibly be in people's lives. And this story that I'm about to tell you is one that, to this day, even, I can't remember even how many years ago it was, still affects me. Because I regret a lot of it. And I'll tell you this when we come back. I just want to take a moment to thank you for listening to today's podcast. Hopefully there's something on today's show that you've really enjoyed. And if that's the case, please like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But also do the same things on the Kent Holste Podcast website. It really makes a big difference to those who are really trying to find something inspirational to help their lives. So thank you again for listening and enjoy the rest of the podcast. So a few years ago, after I started finding my birth mother and my birth father, I started to get to know the family that was from my bloodline. And I was starting to spend more time with my dad. It was kind of hard when I moved back to Montana from Wyoming after graduating high school, after being there in Wyoming to spend time with my birth mom. I was there about maybe 1 to 2 years. But when I moved back, I really wanted to spend time getting to know, other people from the family. And so on my birth mom's side, I spent a couple times going down to Libby, Montana to visit with my cousins. And it was funny. One of my cousins, we almost looked alike. We enjoyed some of the same things. His sister, my cousin, we would go down to a nearby river and just hang out. And I think we went swimming once. And it was a good time. But the cousin that I really got along with, that we had a lot of similarities. When 9/11 happened, he went into the military after high school, did 2 terms, I think, in Iraq. He was in some division where he did sniping and all that stuff, or sharpshooting or whatnot. And I enjoyed spending time with him when he came home. And, there was some stuff that was going on personally in his life because of being in the war that I think really affected him. And, I always say, hey, we're going to hang out more. And I'd call and be like, hey, what's going on? And then there was this one time where I was like, you know what? I should go down there. And I'd just put it off. And then I'd think about it again, and I'd be like, yeah, maybe I should go down there. And then I put it off again. Next thing you know, I get contacted by a family member on that side telling me that he passed away. he got hit by a train after being in some sort of altercation with a family member. And it was devastating to me because here I am thinking all these thoughts of, I should make contact. I should go down there and hang out. And I never did. And I could have, but I chose not to. And my biggest regret is within that. I never got to say goodbye. I never got to spend more time with him after just finding him and that family, It was hard. Ended up going to the funeral and got to meet family that I haven't had the chance to meet yet. And it was hard. Especially, when the focus should have been on his life, I felt like I was a distraction. Because a lot of the family knew about me, but didn't know I found the family. And so I felt a part of me was like, yeah, I'm kind of a distraction here. Taking away the focus of what was really the case. Those regrets that I felt, it's not my fault that he passed away. I can have all the regret that I want. I can feel that all I want. But it's not going to change anything. And the more I push blame on my life for not doing more, it's not doing anything except for me wanting to change how I spend more time with my family. Because to me, my family is very important, whether it be my birth family or my adopted family. And I don't want to have any regrets. Another sad story about life, leaving and regretting was I was in first grade, and it's well known through past podcasts that I wasn't the best child growing up. My mom and dad put me in a treatment facility when I was in first grade. And there was times where I was able to talk to my grandma from my adopted family's, my dad's side. And she became ill while I was in there. Something happened. And one day I was talking to her, the next she was gone. And my biggest regret was thinking that she passed away because she was embarrassed that I was this troubled kid. I honestly thought that it was my fault. And my regret is thinking that, because that's far from the truth. She was old. God decided to take her life, to bring her home, to be with my grandfather. It was her time. And there's very few people who know about this, about how I really felt about what happened then when I was a kid. One of which is my cousin, and another is my cousin's mom, and I think my parents. And now that I'm an adult and I know better, I just feel bad. Like I wasted so much time thinking things that weren't true, that were not any of my doing. I had nothing to do with. And I think that's where a lot of our regret happens, is we think about things that were out of our hands. There was nothing that we could do. And we regret that we could have done more. Could have done more to be a better person. Could have done more to say, I love you. There's so many things when people die that we regret that we didn't do. And it's a perfect opportunity to reevaluate things and make sure that you don't make those mistakes again. Whenever you say goodbye to someone or leave, you say goodbye and you love them and make sure they understand how you feel in case it might be the last time. But they always say goodbye is never goodbye. It's just till you see each other again. And that may be true. It may be not true. But in some ways, it is. The things that we do, the things that we don't do, there's always going to be some sort of feelings of regret. That we could have done more, we could have done less. We should have acted this way or another way. We can't let our regret defeat. We can't let our regret be more pain than what's already there, because it's just unneeded. It's okay to regret, but it's all how you deal with it. It's all how you handle it. If you deal with it the right way, there's no chance of it doing anything bad. But if you deal with it the wrong way, that's a whole different story. So what's the things that we can take from regret? In the comment spot, if you feel comfortable, put the things that you regret in your life. But please make sure that they're appropriate. They're not bashing anybody. It's not going to hurt someone's feelings. This is a time to build up others. It's a time to bring awareness to others who need it, so they know that they're not alone within their struggles, their pain, and their hurt that they deal with. So be that person. So talk about the times that you regret things. What was the cause of it? And what did you do to make sure that that regret didn't grow into something worse or different that wasn't a good thing? How can you make sure that that regret was going in the right direction? Because you can take your regret and do good with it. You can make sure that those things don't happen again. You can make sure that your next relationship, you're going to do everything you can humanly possible to make sure that that person is cared for and loved. You can regret that you couldn't make that promise to your kid that you were going to take them out to a ball game. So the next time an opportunity does come, you're going to hit that opportunity, no matter if you have to put work aside, your own personal wants aside. You have to do things that are going to make that regret not happen again. So talk about that. Talk anything about your experiences with regret. How did you deal with it? What did you do to work on it? Tips on how to deal with regret and how to make sure that your regret isn't going to lead to other things. Because some people, the regret can lead towards getting into a whole new world of addictions. They beat themselves up so much for what has happened that they think that the only resolution to fix it is to drown themselves in misery. They just beat themselves up, kind of like what I did with certain things in my life. Don't let your regret be the final thing that destroys you as a person. Don't let your regret be the reason why you keep losing important things in your life. The more that you do to make things better, the more you're going to see good things come into your life. So make that happen today. If you like this podcast and you think that there's something that other people could take from this or add into the mix, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and spread the message of positivity and encouragement towards others. Because this is the only way our society, our community is going to change, is by taking the time to think about topics that you don't necessarily think are important, but they do play a major part in your life. Because I don't know about you, but there's a lot of regret in my life. And I'm still learning how to cope with that. And I'm still learning how to move forward from that. It doesn't stop. It's a constant thing you have to adapt to. So think about that. So remember to think and be positive. Do what you can, not what you can't, to deal with your regret. Because I believe in you. Don't you think you should too? And if you see someone who served our country, whether it be military, police, fire, medical, take the quick few seconds it takes to give them an elbow, give them a fist bump, tell them how much you appreciate them. You never know how much they might appreciate that. It's all about kindness. So do that today. And thank you for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are not just my friends. You're my family. And I mean that. I really appreciate all of the love and support throughout this time that I've been working hard to put more content and creating new things to create people to interact with each other and become a community of building others up. I appreciate everything that you guys do. It's really, truly amazing. And until the next time we talk, be safe and God bless.